it looks like a lot of work needs to be done if state police will come on stream. Do you think it's easier said than done? It's like they will say in the street, it's sweeting us now. They are saying it. It's good to hear. It's good music to our ears. But then there's work to be done, isn't it, to tidy up how that police will operate? Because currently, I don't know whether you've been to any police barrack, and they will say around here, is this how the state police will go? Because some states are still owing salaries, they're owing pension, they're owing gratuities. Can they do this? Can they do this? It's not by going to Abuja and asking the president to hand them the power. Can they do this?
Well, I will be honest with you, that question is on my mind. I mean, there are several issues, and that's why I think that the committee that will be set up to look into this has a lot of work on its sleeve. The National Assembly has its work cut out for them. And then even the state members of the State House of Assembly have some form of responsibility to fine-tune the ideas. If they can't fine-tune it at their level, they can send memos up to their senior colleagues to have their voices heard in the constitutional amendment, because the devil, they say, is in the details. And it is when we begin the details of this community and state policing that you will find that you needed some things. Yes, there is legitimate concerns about whether the state governments are able to fund it, given the fact that many of the state governments are defaulting in their contractual obligations to their workers. And if they are not able to pay staff salaries, how are you now able to pay for the state policing? There is, in some sense, to say that state police is in effect. But what they don't have, because almost every state has their form of Hisba, has their form of Amoteku, has their form of vigilante services, has their form of forest guards, like you have in Enugu, has their form of even state vigilante services. And but what they lack is the power to arrest and prosecute. And so one of the things I do hope that state policing will confer on them is the legal impetus to arrest, detain, and prosecute. Because what they can do now is arrest and hand over. But I do hope that once you have state policing in place, that they are able to arrest and prosecute. But that also confers on itself some form of responsibility, because the state governors may have to, in the immediate term, begin to populate their states with police barracks that can have cells, holding cells, and police barracks that have armory where they can store their weapons. The questions you have is quite legitimate, and if they say that it doesn't concern me, I'll be lying. In fact, it is better that we don't have paid police than you have police resources that the government is owing. Because how can you give guns to people who are not paying their salaries? Now the governors may have additional responsibilities. Maybe it will force them to think outside of the metaphorical box. Maybe it will force them to think of alternate ways to raise resources. And by the way, for a state like Anambra State, the last time I checked, during the administration of Governor Willie Obiano, the state's, security votes is 1.2 billion naira monthly. And then I do understand that the state provides periodic subventions to the police. They provide periodic subventions to federal agencies. So I don't know what that, because you see, the governors are not forthright in opening up their books. If we had seen, let's see the amount of federal subvention you give to the police, because of course you know that even citizens, when they go to the police to make an arrest, citizens are required to buy fuel for them to make an arrest. That is the same way that the governor fuels the vehicles of the police officers in his state, and in many cases buying them vehicles, buying them walkie-talkies, just to see that he can beef up security in this. But if the books are open, we will see the amount of subvention, say, Enugu State has given to federal partners in the last 1.5 years. And then we can now say, okay, what is the cost of running a state security structure for 1 year? We can now do the comparative cost analysis. But because Nigeria is not a place where the books are open, things like this could fly. And I get worried, and the public does not have the full information to make this kind of decisions. But maybe we should now force the governors to open up that security votes that they keep hiding. Let us see what is in the security votes, how they've spent it over the past 2 years. Then we can now make informed permutations as to whether we think that if that fund is plowed properly, whether it can take care of this kind of issues or not.
That's an interesting one.